When my car broke down, she rolled her eyes in front of others and said, "This is why I need a real man, not him." They laughed. I just called for a tow. That night, she discovered she wouldn't be getting a ride home with me. You think you know someone after 3 years together, building a life, making plans, thinking you're on the same side, and then, in a puff of exhaust smoke on a busy road, you realize you're not even in the same game. For me, that moment of clarity hit last Saturday afternoon. My name is Kevin. I'm 36 and work in cybersecurity. I don't build things with my hands, I build firewalls and protect data. My world is logical, precise, and analytical. I'm not a car enthusiast. I can't distinguish between a carburetor and a catalytic converter. My car is just a tool, something that takes me from point A to point B. It's a 5-year-old sedan, reliable, paid off, and practical. To me, that's a win. In the world of my now ex-girlfriend, Lauren, it was apparently a source of deep personal shame. Lauren, who is 30, lives in a different realm. Her world revolves around image, aesthetics, and what others think. She's a social media manager for a fashion label, and her entire life is curated to look perfect online. I thought her focus on appearances was just part of her job, never realizing it was her whole personality. Last Saturday, we were headed to a weekend getaway she had been planning for months. A friend of hers was having an engagement party at a fancy winery 2 hours out of the city. For Lauren, this wasn't just a party, it was a content creation opportunity. She packed 3 different outfits for a 2-day trip and spent the morning talking about which influencers would be there and how crucial it was for us to look like a power couple. I just nodded along, glad she was excited. About an hour into the drive, my car started making a noise on a busy highway, clunking and grinding sounds that even someone like me recognized as bad. Then the engine sputtered, dashboard lights lit up like a Christmas tree, and we coasted to a stop on the shoulder. I turned on the hazard lights and tried to restart it. Nothing. The engine was completely dead. Lauren let out a groan of pure dramatics. "Oh my God, Kevin, you've got to be kidding me. Today of all days." I tried to stay calm. "It's okay," I said, pulling out my phone. "I have roadside assistance. I'll just call a tow truck." That's when it happened. 2 cars pulled over behind us, likely thinking we needed help. A couple of guys got out and approached, dressed in blazers and nice shoes, like they were headed to the same kind of event we were. Lauren saw them coming, got out of the car, slammed the door, put her hands on her hips, and looked at my dead sedan with utter disdain. Then, turning to the approaching strangers, she rolled her eyes dramatically and said loud enough for them and me to hear, "This is why I need a real man, not him." The 2 guys stopped, looked at me, then at her, then back at me, and chuckled. It wasn't a mean laugh, more of a confused, awkward one, but it was still a laugh. They got back in their cars and drove off, leaving me standing there feeling like I was part of her public humiliation. Something inside me snapped, not with a loud break but a quiet fracture. All the little things from the past 3 years suddenly fell into place. The way she'd commented on my practical car, suggested I buy more expensive clothes, and subtly put me down in front of her friends. I wasn't her partner, I was an accessory that didn't meet her brand standards. I didn't say anything. I just nodded, pulled out my phone, and made the call. "Yes, I need a tow. My car is dead." I provided the location. While still on the phone, I opened a ride-sharing app and requested a premium car, something she would approve of, a black SUV. Lauren was pacing back and forth, fuming. "This is a nightmare. We're going to be so late. My hair is going to be ruined. What will people think?" I just looked at her, my expression blank. The rideshare app pinged, "Your driver is 2 minutes away." A sleek black SUV pulled up in front of us. The driver got out and opened the rear door. Lauren sighed in relief. "Finally, let's go." She started to get in. "No," I said, my voice flat and calm, putting my hand on her arm to stop her. "This ride is for me." I took my weekend bag out of the trunk of my dead car. "The tow truck will be here in about 20 minutes. You can wait with it if you want." Her expression shifted to a mix of confusion and anger. "What are you talking about? We have to get to the party." "No, Lauren," I said, looking her directly in the eye. "You have to go to the party. You need a real man, remember? That's not me. I'm just the guy who calls for the tow truck. You can wait here for a real man to come along and fix this for you." I got into the SUV. "Just me," I told the driver. "Take me to this address." I provided my home address. As the SUV pulled away, I glanced back in the rearview mirror. Lauren stood on the side of the highway, stunned, her mouth open, her perfect party outfit looking ridiculous next to my broken-down car. The last thing I saw was her pulling out her phone, probably to start a frantic series of calls. It didn't matter. By the time she figured out how to get home, her life was going to look very different. The ride home was the quietest, most peaceful hour I had experienced in years. The first thing I did when I walked into my apartment was change the security code on the electronic lock. Then I started packing. Update 1. The silence in my apartment when I returned was profound. For 3 years, it had been filled with the noise of Lauren's life, her music, her podcasts, her endless phone conversations. Now it was just quiet. It was my space again. I didn't waste any time. My mind functioned like I was handling a data breach: identify the vulnerability, isolate it, and remove it from the system. Lauren was the vulnerability. I began in the bedroom closet. Her side was a riot of color and designer labels, a physical representation of a life lived on credit and appearances. I didn't bother with boxes. I bought a dozen large, heavy-duty contractor bags from the convenience store downstairs. I methodically pulled everything off the hangers and out of the drawers, stuffing it all into the bags: shoes, dresses, jeans, and the absurd collection of athleisure where she never actually worked out in. It all went in. Next was the bathroom, which looked like a beauty supply store had exploded on the counter: dozens of bottles, jars, and tubes, each promising some kind of miracle. I swept it all into a bag, not caring if something broke. It was all just noise. I went through the entire apartment like that: books she bought for decoration but never read, art prints she ordered online to make the place look more sophisticated, throw pillows arranged on the couch with military precision. I was erasing her from my life, one bag at a time. It took me less than 2 hours. When I was done, a mountain of black bags stood in my living room. Then I sat down at my computer and began untangling the financial mess. We had a joint credit card primarily in my name. I was the main account holder, and she was an authorized user. I had gotten it for her to help her build her credit, and she used it for everything. I logged into the account. The balance was shocking: thousands spent on clothes, dinners with friends, and a recent spa day that cost more than my monthly car insurance. I paid the entire balance in full from my personal savings, then clicked the button to remove her as an authorized user. I reported her card as lost. Her access was cut off, effective immediately. Next, I logged out all devices from our shared streaming accounts, grocery delivery service, and Amazon Prime. I changed every password. The digital infrastructure of her comfortable life, which all relied on my accounts, was dismantled in under 20 minutes. I was in the middle of changing the Wi-Fi password when my phone started ringing. It was Lauren. I ignored it. It rang again. Ignored. Then the texts began, fury and disbelief pouring in. "Kevin, where did you go? I'm still on the side of the road. The tow truck driver won't let me leave with the car. Answer your phone right now. This is the most humiliating experience of my life. I'm calling an Uber. You're going to pay for it. What is wrong with you?" I didn't reply. I just watched the messages come in, each one confirming that I had made the right decision. There was no apology, no self-awareness, just pure entitlement. An hour later, I heard a key card beep at my front door, followed by an error buzz, then another. Then frantic buzzing, followed by pounding. "Kevin, open this door. My key isn't working." I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. It was her face red and blotchy from crying. Her friend Ashley was with her, looking furious. Ashley was her primary enabler, always backing her up no matter how ridiculous she was. I opened the door but left the security chain on. "What is going on?" Lauren shrieked. "Why did you change the code? And what is all this?" She gestured to the pile of black bags in the living room. "I didn't change the code," I said calmly. "I changed the lock. This is my apartment." Then I nodded toward the bags. "That is your stuff. You're moving out." Ashley stepped forward. "You can't just kick her out, Kevin. She lives here. That's illegal." "Actually, it's not," I replied, my voice steady as a rock. "Lauren is not on the lease. She has never paid $1 in rent. She was a guest, and her stay is over. You have 1 hour to load her belongings into your car. I suggest you start now because anything left here after that hour will be considered abandoned property and disposed of." The two of them just stared at me, jaws practically on the floor. Lauren seemed to realize this wasn't a negotiation. "My credit card isn't working," she stammered, as if that were the most pressing issue. "I tried to pay for the Uber and it was declined." "I know," I said. "I canceled it. It was my account. You're no longer an authorized user." The rage in her eyes was something to see. "You are a monster. After everything I did for you, I decorated this place. I made it look good. I corrected her, and now you can take your feed with you." I closed the door, leaving them in the hallway. I watched through the peephole as they had a frantic whispered conversation. Then, with Ashley glaring at my door, they began the long, laborious process of hauling the bags down to the parking garage. It was a beautiful sight, two women in fancy party clothes dragging heavy black trash bags full of designer junk. It took them 5 trips. When they were finally done, Lauren came back to the door, delivering one last parting shot. "You will be hearing from my lawyer," she said, her voice trembling with rage. "Great," I replied through the closed door. "Have him send a letter. I'll have my lawyer look at it. Goodbye, Lauren." I heard her stomp away. And then, for the first time in 3 years, my home was truly quiet. Update 2. The legal threat was, as I expected, nothing but hot air. But that didn't mean the battle was over. In Lauren's world, the battlefield wasn't a courtroom, it was social media and public opinion. A few days after the incident, the first shots were fired. It began with a vague Instagram story from Lauren, a black and white picture of her looking sadly out a window with the caption, "You never truly know someone until they show their true colors. Heartbroken and narcissistically abused." Then came supporting fire from her friends. Ashley posted a long, rambling Facebook status about how some men can't handle strong, successful women and how they try to punish them by abandoning them in dangerous situations. She didn't use my name, but it was obvious who she meant. The narrative was clear: I was a cruel, abusive monster who had a psychotic break and left my loving girlfriend stranded on the side of a highway. The story began spreading through our larger social circle. I received a few texts from people asking if I was okay, their tone implying that I was the one with the problem. I knew that engaging them on their turf would be a mistake. Arguing on social media is like wrestling with a pig in the mud: you both get dirty, and the pig enjoys it. I needed a different strategy. My weapon wasn't emotion, it was facts and precision. I recalled the incident on the highway and the 2 guys who had chuckled and driven off. I had gotten a partial glimpse of their license plate as they left. I'm good with details, it's my job. I have a friend who works in a field where he has access to certain databases, not illegal, but he's skilled at finding information. I gave him the partial plate number, the make and model of the car, as well as the time and location of the incident. I asked if he could identify the owner. I told him it was related to a personal dispute, and I just needed to ask the person a question. 2 days later, he sent me a name and a phone number. The car was registered to a guy named David who lived near the winery. I took a deep breath and made the call. "Hello, is this David?" I asked when he answered. "Yeah, who's this?" "My name is Kevin. This is going to sound strange, but I think you witnessed an incident involving me on the highway last Saturday. My car broke down, and you and a friend pulled over." There was a pause. "Oh man, yeah, I remember that. Your girlfriend was really angry." "That's one way to put it," I replied. "Look, the reason I'm calling is that she's now telling people I abandoned her and that I was the one causing the problem. I was wondering if you would be willing to state what you saw and heard." He laughed. "Dude, I heard it all. She totally threw you under the bus. She said something like, 'This is why I need a real man.' My buddy and I talked about it all the way to the party. We felt bad for you, man. That was rough." "Bingo. Would you be willing to write that down in an email to me?" I asked. "Just a short, simple statement of what you witnessed." "Yeah, no problem," he said. "What she did was messed up. I'll send it over shortly." An hour later, I received it, a clear, concise statement from an independent witness detailing Lauren's exact words and her dismissive behavior. It was the digital equivalent of a nuclear bomb. I didn't post it publicly, that wasn't my style. I just sent it to one person, Lauren's boss. Lauren worked for a small, exclusive fashion label. The owner, a woman named Cassandra, was all about female empowerment and brand integrity. She had built her company on a carefully crafted image of authenticity and support for women. I drafted a very professional email. "Dear Miss Montgomery, my name is Kevin. Until recently, I was the long-term partner of your social media manager, Lauren. I'm writing to you because a personal matter has unfortunately spilled over into public view in a way that could potentially affect your brand's reputation. Lauren is currently running a social media campaign alleging that I was abusive and that I abandoned her. This is false. The truth is that I ended our relationship after she publicly humiliated me in a deeply disrespectful manner. I have attached a signed statement from an independent witness who observed the entire incident. I have no desire to make this a public issue, but I will not stand by and allow my character to be defamed. Given that Lauren is using her professional platform and skills to spread these lies, I felt it was important for you to have the actual facts. I trust that you will handle this matter with the discretion it deserves." I attached the witness statement and hit send. Then I waited. The fallout was swift and quiet. Within 24 hours, Lauren's Instagram story was gone. Ashley's Facebook post vanished. All the vague, accusatory posts from her friends disappeared from the internet. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that there had been an emergency meeting at Lauren's workplace. Cassandra was apparently furious, not just about the lie, but about the hypocrisy. Mocking her partner for not being a real man was hardly on brand for a company built on female empowerment. Lauren wasn't fired, but she was put on a very short leash. Her social media, both personal and professional, was now under strict supervision. Her little whisper campaign was over. She had attempted to use her greatest weapon against me, and I had turned it back on her with a single irrefutable fact. Final update. It's been about 5 months since my car broke down and my life unraveled. The quiet that settled in my apartment that first night has become my new normal, and I've never been more grateful for it. The drama with Lauren quickly fizzled out after I sent that email to her boss. The threat of a verified third-party witness telling the world what she truly said was enough to silence her entirely. The entitlement was still there, I'm sure, but it was now overshadowed by a healthy fear for her job. From what I've heard, her life has become a shadow of what it once was. The biggest blow came about a month after the breakup. My old sedan, the source of her embarrassment, was towed to a trusted mechanic. It turned out to be a simple, inexpensive fix, a faulty fuel pump. I had it repaired, detailed, and then sold it in a private sale. I used that money, along with a good portion of my savings, to buy myself a new car. Not a flashy sports car, but a brand new, top-of-the-line SUV, the kind of vehicle she always dreamed of being seen in. It's safe, reliable, and all mine. I didn't buy it just to spite her, but I have to admit there's a sense of poetic justice to it. Lauren, on the other hand, is now driving a 10-year-old compact car that her parents helped her purchase. Without my income to support her lifestyle, she had to move out of the apartment she was subletting from Ashley and into a small studio in a less desirable area. The designer clothes and spa days are a thing of the past. She's living within her own means for the first time, and apparently, she's miserable. Her friends, like Ashley, have mostly drifted away. They were friends with her lifestyle, not with her as a person. When the parties, expensive dinners, and weekend getaways stopped, so did their loyalty. She built her social life on sand, and it washed away as soon as the tide went out. I ran into her once, about a month ago, at a grocery store. I was in the checkout line, and she was a few people behind me. She looked tired and stressed, the carefully curated Instagram polish was gone. She was just a normal person, looking at the price of avocados with a worried expression. When she saw me, her face went pale. She immediately abandoned her cart and walked out of the store. I didn't feel anger, satisfaction, or anything at all. She was just a stranger who had taught me a valuable lesson. The ultimate revenge wasn't leaving her on the side of the road, packing her things in trash bags, or canceling her credit card. It was simply removing myself from her life. I was the foundation that allowed her to live her curated, artificial existence. When I took that away, her entire world collapsed under its own weight. She criticized me for not being able to fix a car with my bare hands, but I learned that a real man isn't defined by grease on his hands. He's defined by his self-respect, his refusal to be a stepping stone for someone's vanity, and his ability to walk away from a situation that's beneath him. I'm dating someone new now. Her name is Sarah. She's an architect. The other day, as we drove in my new SUV, she asked if I knew anything about cars. I laughed and said, absolutely not. I have a good mechanic, and that's all I need to know. She smiled and said, good. I'd be worried if you did. I prefer a man who's smart enough to delegate. And in that simple statement, I understood the difference between a partner and a parasite. Lauren wanted a man who could fix her problems. Sarah wanted a man who could build a life with her. I finally have that, and it's a life that's real all the way down to the foundation.